Hello, YouTubers, Facebookers, and all other onlookers. Jimmy P. Brown II coming at you live from uh, Three Frog Studios in Brundage, Alabama. It's been so long since I've really just done one of these in here. Almost forgot where I was. Anyways, it's good to be back. It's good to be here. I'm in week 5 of recovery, and I'm feeling pretty good. Just wanted to let everybody know that doing well, feeling great, almost back to normal. It's going to be a little bit, but I've been advised that healing is going very well. Anyways, going through all my emails yesterday was a little bit of a rebel rousing on the posting front on Facebook. That was kind of fun, but. I pose my thoughts. I say what I say. Whatever's going through my head at the moment, it's going to happen. And not that I don't appreciate the fact that we're having these cool re-releases of these classic records. The first album was pinnacle for us, so I'm pretty stoked about it. I'll be honest with you, it's nice. It's just. I hope the point of my post came clear, because it was more of don't accuse me of doing something that I'm not doing. I'm not milking anything, and that's where it is. Anyways, I'm still going through emails. They pour in every day, and it's hard to keep up. But I'm doing my best. I'm trying, along with, working and, I still got a pretty heavy duty task list, of all the work that still needs to be done on, the recordings that I'm working on here. And so it's moving along. There was a little bit of a snag with the unexpected surgery, but nonetheless, it's all good. It's all great, and we're good. Anyways, so today's topic. I thought this had been addressed, and I didn't want to be rude, because there was such a collection of them. There was like literally, as most of you know, I do collect my emails and then I sort them by topic, and I thought this topic had been addressed. But it wasn't, or not clearly at least. So I'm going to go ahead and clearly address it today. So what's the topic today? The Deliverance Queensrÿche connection. I know it sounds silly, but people actually really want to know, so it's kind of cool. And I try to address when collectively a group of people that don't have anything to do with it. Here's the thing, and I got to say this too, and I really am going to try to make this a shorter video. I'm not going to claim to make a short video, but it's going to be shorter than my normal 40 minutes. But when I get a message from somebody, primarily on Facebook, I go and I look at the profiles. I look at what city you're from. I look at because I want to make sure I'm talking to somebody real. I want to make sure that you're I mean, people, I mean, let's face it, we've got people out there that just don't like you, and so I always try to make sure that you're not buddied up with somebody else who's like out to get me or out to say rude things or just to get my goat or rile me up or anything else. So I try to make sure that affiliation's not there, and more importantly, like I said, just to kind of establish, this person this is a real person. So that said, um, when I do finally answer topics, it's because my research has shown this to be legitimate, and people actually have these questions. So, the Queensrÿche connection. The reason I have to answer it, like I said, I thought I'd answered it before, but I'll go through it step by step and just let people know. First off, yes, there's no question. I think it was 1983 or 1984. No, it was 1983. I discovered Queensrÿche. Fell in love with them. I was in my local music store, back when we had music stores that were blasting cool music and, run by little independent operators that, were music fans of all types and all sorts, were playing, Queen of the Reich. It was playing over the stereo there and throughout the store. And I remember going up to the dude and saying, "Hey, man, when did the new Maiden come out?" And he's like, Number of the Beast has already been out. And I'm like, or Peace of Mind, I think it was. And he said, "No, no, no, this is a new band, or they're out of Seattle. We're selling their demos right over there." So I went and I bought the demo, of course, and became a fan from that point on. Talked to one of my friends into taking me to go. I saw that they were playing Chuck Landis's Country Club, and went to go see them there, and then saw them again, I believe in '84 when they were opening up for Accept, and just have been a big fan since. Right up until Promised Land. I loved Promised Land, by the way. After that, I started fading away from music and altogether. And so I'm very familiar with their catalog all the way up until Promised Land. But I have to dig in. I want to dig in and listen to some later stuff. But I just know that I thought everything up until Promised Land was just fantastic. So, connection. There is no connection. I had the privilege of meeting Chris DeGarmo. And when I say meet, I shouldn't say that. It was a, "Hi, how are you? Love your guitar playing, love your writing." And shook hands, that's it. Had the pleasure of meeting Tate. Same thing, shake hands real quick, but meeting is very loose, because when I think meeting, you're actually sitting, talking, exchanging some thoughts and dialogue and conversation with that person. But, so I guess meeting is kind of a loosely used term nowadays. But, yeah, but I don't know them. I've just been a big fan. And since they came out, and which I think the demo was like '82 or '83, I think so, yeah. And then it was sold to EMI, and it's kind of like history ever since. Anyways, 7 minutes. Oh gosh. Okay, so I have all these emails, and these are as of late. These are like the last 2.5 months. So I thought I'd answered on one of the other videos, but I'll go through it again. It's no big deal. Were they a big influence? Yes. Yeah, obviously. They're a huge, huge influence. I wouldn't say musically as much as vocally. I think Jeff Tate was just a very innovative singer. He had a great style. I mean, he was influenced by, you can hear Ian Gillan in his voice. You can hear a lot of great singers in Tate's voice, including Dickinson and stuff like that. So, and I of course I could not, I couldn't help but like his voice. I wanted to be a singer since I was 12. So, um, I think that was primarily what it is. Musically, not so much. And it's not because I don't like their music. Actually, I think it's fantastic. It's just not per se the kind of music I would write or that I write. So, what does make me laugh is how many people didn't like them. And I remember with Deliverance, it was funny because Chris Hyde, Chris was just, rest in peace. Chris was such a character, and he was just so opinionated when it came to music. And Chris, is a good old boy, man. He was just such a staunch anti-secular music guy at that time. It was '85, '86, and where the rest of us pretty much listened. Well, I could only speak for me. I know I listened to secular music. I just didn't care. I saw music as music. And and I used to make fun of him. I used to say, if it's not Leviticus or Jerusalem, and then I'd start pulling names out. You know, oh, if it's not Deuteronomy and Exodus, and then there was a band named Exodus that wasn't Christian. It's kind of funny, but so I would just mess around with Chris all the time. But you know, Chris just hated Queensrÿche, and he actually said he didn't mind the music. He liked the music. He hated Jeff Tate's voice, and he couldn't stand that I, you know, found myself influenced by him. And and it was funny because my girlfriend, then now my wife Helen, you know, she agreed 100% with Chris. Just couldn't stand Tate's voice, and Chris would do these imitations, like when I first started really listening to Metallica, and you know, fell in love with the Ride the Lightning album. You know, he couldn't stand it. He said, "This is just horrible music," and he's like, yeah. And I go, what is it you don't like? And he goes, well, it all just sounds crappy and the same to me. And then he would imitate it, and then he would do this. That's what it sounded like to him, you know. But it was funny just to hear. But when it came to Queensrÿche, oh my God, he hated Tate's voice, and he's like, how could you call that guy a good singer? And Brian would always intervene, and Brian would be like, you know, it's not that he's not a good singer, Chris, you just don't like his voice. And but Chris would imitate Jeff Tate, and he'd always that's what Tate sounded like to him. And the funny part about it is that's what Tate sounded like to Helen too, and she was in full agreement about it, and they would both gang up on me about it, you know. And what's funny is they would both comment that they liked my voice. And I'm like, God, I'm like massively influenced by this dude. So it's kind of funny that they like my voice, but they hate his voice. It's just kind of weird. But I had a multitude of other influences going on with me too. You know, Dickinson was a huge influence. And you know, of course, you know, I always wanted to sound like Bowie. But you know, not until my range changed was I able to really start get and dig in there. And with the higher register stuff, it was, you know, Peter Murphy, Bauhaus, and you know, that kind of thing. Anyway, so back to the Queensrÿche affiliation. Yes, they were a huge influence. I loved them. I listened to their records religiously. Rage for Order, primarily, when that came out, I mean, I just that thing never left my tape player. I mean, it just was in my car. It was on my turntable at the house in my room. And then when I got in my truck, it was in the tape deck, and I never wanted to listen to anything else. Rage for Order was just, to me, sheer brilliance, because it wasn't metal. It was something else. And I've always admired that about bands, when they take something and they try to cultivate their own thing out of it. Obviously, metal influence, rock influence, classical influence, and they let the electronic world influence them. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is just sheer brilliance. It's fantastic. And it wasn't all taped. You know, Rockenfield will be the first to admit that he was really, really into electronic music. And I just thought it was really cool. It was very inventive, and that Rage album. And then, you know, of course, Mindcrime came out, and that was the true breakout record for them. I mean, they were pretty big up until that. Mindcrime just exploded them onto the planet. And it's a brilliant record. And then Empire, even more so, especially with the onset of MTV being so heavily influencing record sales and everything. And they did some great videos. Either way, 14 minutes. Okay, so Ryche being an influence, I would say more so on the vocals. Although lyrically, I guess some stuff just came through. And I'll go through some of this stuff. Like Lord of Dreams. This is from our Wikipedia site. And I referenced this in another video, but I got to go through it again. Lord of Dreams, you know, contains the lyric, "Dream control is so hard to achieve," you know, referencing the Empire record, "Achieve Dream Control." Yeah, of course I was referencing that. The track "Renew," track 5 from the Learn album, contains the phrase, "Even dead, you still seem sad." Yes. Stave Execution, includes a sound effect of a phone ringing twice, followed by someone saying hello. The beginning of Operation Mindcrime. I guess that one's kind of stretching it, but sure. Speed of Light contains the phrase "Until we see your shadow casting on us once again," referencing London. Let me see you standing in the shadows once again. Oh gosh, I will be the first one to say absolutely. In fact, when I remember being there, and Ed from 12th Tribe was there, Ed and Dave Portillo, when I was doing the vocal, and I remember listening to that with them, and I'm like, yeah, should I do that? Because that's very Ryche. I mean, it's almost lifting that phrase from Queensrÿche, and even the way I'm singing it and stuff, even though the music's nowhere near the same. And they both said, yeah, just do it. Who cares, dude? It's awesome. And so I did it. But yeah, that was intentional. Assimilation contains the phrase "screaming in digital," which is a reference to Rage for Order. Yeah, definitely. I would say that's fair. And then the cover art for "Hear What I Say," and then of course the very name of the band itself, Deliverance. Sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, I remember just reading titles off of that album. Let's call ourselves NM156. Let's call ourselves, No Sanctuary. Let's call ourselves this or that. And when Deliverance, it just worked. It's just a great name. Scary movie, but I love the name Deliverance. I just think it's cool. Always have. I remember Bill Matoyer just going, "Man, that's a great name." I just love that because it invokes so many different thoughts of what deliverance is. Delivery of music, delivery of a message, delivery of this. Give you that nightmarish thoughts of the squealing pig, squeal like a pig from the movie. I mean, who knows? But it's very cool. It's cool that people picked up on that. And the one thing that makes me laugh about that article is that it says, Jimmy's never been bashful. Well, of course I'm not. I'm not bashful. I love, ever since I heard the phrase from Picasso, that good artists borrow, great artists steal. I love that because, in essence, we're all influenced by something. The original artists that started painting on walls, the cavemen, and everything else. I mean, my gosh, that was all. They were influenced by what they saw. So we've always been influenced. All artists, all forms of art, all medias of art, and music is my chosen art form. And of course, I have no problem. Heavily influenced by Daniel Amos, by Terry Scott Taylor. That's why people don't realize what a dream it was for me to work with him and to record those 3 records. Man, I remember when my brother first brought that record home in 1979, and because that was when he converted to Christianity, and he brought that first country album home. Man, I stole it. I took it. I wore that LP out. I was just listening to it nonstop. And this is 79. So when I first meet Terry and I'm working with him in the studio, he thought I was joshing him. He thought I was messing with him, telling him how much I was influenced, until I brought a video of me singing "Losers and Winners" from the first album at a youth outing in 1985. So I was always a big DA fan, huge Daniel Amos fan. Terry Taylor primarily. I'm a Terry Taylor fan. Anything he does, just pretty much love it. And of course, rest in peace, Mr. David Bowie. Of course, everybody knows that. I mean, that's my first love, as far as remembering anything before. Obviously the first thing was Elvis, and entertaining the family with putting on my brother's sunglasses and using the broomstick as a mic stand, and doing all the Elvis dances and singing "Hunka Hunka Burning Love." That was a big thing for me. But then the second thing was hearing Bowie's voice on "Sweet Thing." I mean, that just changed everything for me, um, on the Diamond Dogs record. And I just, from that point on, I just listened to everything intently to what he was doing. So all these things were a huge influence. And among them, for me, I don't have a ton of influences, but among them was Queensrÿche. And Queensrÿche is a big influence. Probably will always be, because Ryche and The Warning are always going to be like big. They'll always stay in rotation on my actual on my phone, my iPad, or whatever. They're always in rotation because I love those albums. As far as the connection, I mean, of course, stuff's going to come out. It's the way. It's the nature of the beast. It's the way it works. So, um, same with Bowie. Same with Terry Taylor. I mean, my gosh, if you couldn't hear the Terry Taylor references throughout the Fearful Symmetry recordings and even Jupiter 6, it's there. I mean, Terry's a big influence. But and then musically, obviously, I think with Deliverance, even people always said that we oddly enough, being a band from Los Angeles, California, that we kind of iconized for the CCM movement, the Bay Area metal sound or the Bay Area thrash sound, which is funny. And I guess I liked some of it, but I mean, Metallica was obviously a big, I mean, they were the first to have that gnarly guitar sound. Slayer always had the worst guitar sounds, but the great thing about it is it was Slayer. It was always who they were. And see, I always heard more Slayer in my writing style, but I liked the guitar tones that Hetfield got. I mean, he's the king of that chunk tone. He articulated. It was almost like he invented the V scoop. It was just awesome sound. Great tone, and I just fell in love with it. So I think that, and then throw in Bowie, throw in Tate, the Ryche, throw in Terry Taylor, um, along with some other little tidbits. You know, you just never knew what you were going to come up with me, because I'm kind of influenced by a hodgepodge of stuff. Um, in any case, no real connection, other than to just say, yeah. I mean, Ryche will always be a mainstay for me. They're just a cool band. And you got the alternative scene and the punkers and everything else that all make fun of that stuff because of Tate's high screams and all that other stuff. But if you're a fan, there's a lot more substance there, and especially with lyric writing and stuff. Very intelligent lyrics. I like stuff like that. I like stuff that's thought put into. Um, so that's about it for that. I hope that answers the question of the Deliverance Queensrÿche connection, because I mean, they were an influence. Connection, is there a connection? No, not really. Just Tate was always a big influence. Um, what else? What else? Oh, well, I think I'm going to keep this to one subject today, because I'm already at 23 minutes. So I'm going to wrap up with just saying the new stuff is coming out great. The hear what I say. We did receive some terrible news yesterday. Nothing like overwhelmingly horrible, but just manufacturing issues for the new. Actually, not just for the new Deliverance, for Eraserhead and for all other things too. But we'll get into that in another video, because that's going to be mostly for our crowdfunding people. But the album is trudging on. Chaffin is flying in on the 31st. And we're going to work on the last tidbits. I mean, and there's not much to go. Well, I'm not going to really show my sloppy notations or anything, but it really, really is almost done, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'm pretty excited about it. It's an aggressive record. Um, if you're looking for that, it's to me it's a cross between the demo, um, the first album, and What a Joke, in a strange way. Um, as far as aggression, as far as attitude, it's it's a thrash record through and through. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is a real thrash record. So I mean, we really stepped back into the roots for this one. So or dug deep. So it's cool. I'm pretty stoked about it, and especially to see where it's going to go from here, and how people are going to react to it. Because that's the biggest thing. But I think people are going to like it. I really do. Eraserhead, Trudging On. That is my other list over there, right and left. And Eraserhead still has quite a bit of work to do on it. I didn't want to ignore it, but right now the highest priority is to get Deliverance done. And so that's what we're hoping to do, because I don't want it to go any later than August, the end of August. So, and get those digi downloads ready for the fall, and then I'll start working. And I'll make this announcement real quick, because I already went over 25 minutes. All right. I am going to work on a new Fearful Symmetry record, but this one's going to have a twist. It's going to be different. And I won't say how, but I'm cooking up a really cool scheme for it. So, working here in the studio for the past couple of years, I guess just creativity is springing forth. So might as well enjoy it, nurture it, and see what happens. So, all right, there we are. Queensrÿche Connection. I like to call it influence, along with a multitude of others. But I like to think to myself too that I have my own thought and have my own, I think I finally found my own voice right around the Learn album. I remember Marcus Cologne listening to the track The Rain and said, this is the first song I've heard where I listen to that and say that is unmistakably Jimmy Brown. And that was the greatest compliment I ever received, because it made me feel so good that I finally had found my own voice. And Terry Taylor had agreed with it. So when River Disturbance came, it was kind of the same thing, So I'd like to think that I've grown and come into my own, but we all still have influences. So, all right, 28 minutes is long enough to go on about this stuff. So I'm going to keep trudging through the emails. If I don't answer you personally, don't take offense. I group all my emails, and if there's enough on one subject, I'll try to talk about it on my video log, because it's just easier to answer it this way than to try to sit there and type. And I'm blind and I never use my glasses, and so hope everything is well otherwise, and I think that's it. I don't think there's really much more to go or say today. So we're going to end it at probably right at a half hour. And I'm extending the time just to extend it, so I can say, you know what? I'm actually going to say it's under a half hour. So at 29:31 minutes, or it'll be 40 by the time I click stop. So thank you again. We'll see you soon.